Hi guys, Amy here, also known as Hidden Treasure Picker here on YouTube. In case you're new to my channel, I'm an online reseller. I sell mainly on eBay, and I also sell a little bit on Poshmark and Mercari as well. Today I am going to go over with you guys our sales for the first week of July 1st through July 7th, just to show you guys what has been selling for us in our eBay stores. And we're also going to do a little bit of a vlog style video just to show you guys what I typically have to do on a daily basis. So I packed up my orders this morning that have to go out today, printed off the labels, got them all ready to go. Now I have to make a trip to the post office to drop those items off. And I also actually have to go to the UPS store today because I do have one item that's going out by UPS. So I have to go to the UPS store and drop that off as well. Other than that, I also have to go to my storage unit to pick up items that sold that will have to ship out tomorrow. That way I'll have them here at the house, can get them all packed up and labels printed so I can get those out tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and head to the post office now, and along the way I'll kind of just, film here and there, show you guys a little bit of my day, and then we'll also go over the orders for the first week of July. So let's get started. Alright guys, so I'm on my way to the post office now. So I thought I'd go ahead and start with our sales while I'm on my way. So these are our sales that we made on eBay between July 1st and July 7th. So first we have this pair of Justin cowboy boots. These were a pair of men's cowboy boots, and we bought these for $5.72 at the bins. The bins are basically the Goodwill outlet, which is where you pay for everything by the pound instead of paying for items individually. These ended up selling on eBay for $49.97. Next we have another pair of Justin cowboy boots. These ones were a pair of women's boots. We bought these for $4.87 at the bins, and they sold for $45 on eBay. Next we have this pair of Columbia PFG shoes. These were a pair of men's shoes. We bought these for $2.01 at the bins, and they sold for $23.98 on eBay. Next we have this pair of men's shorts. These were Carhartt shorts. I've talked to you guys about Carhartt a lot before. Carhartt is a really good brand that lots of people look for. Paid about $3.09 for these at Goodwill, and they sold for $21 on eBay. Next we have yet another pair of cowboy boots. These ones were by a brand called Cowtown. Now I was pretty surprised that I sold like 3 different pairs of cowboy boots within like the first couple days of July. Thought that was rather strange. Kind of wondered why that would be happening. Not sure if there's, maybe some country concerts going on. Somebody else suggested to me perhaps rodeos over the summer. Not sure, but I thought it was rather strange to sell like 3 different pairs of cowboy boots within like a couple days of each other. I mean, cowboy boots do typically sell really well, but it was strange kind of to sell so many so close together. These ones we bought for about $5.61 at the bins, and they ended up selling for $39.98. Next we have this pair of UGG sandals. These we bought for about $1.37 at the bins, and they sold for $19.98. Like I said to you guys before, sandals are definitely a good thing to be selling right now. It's summertime, so people are definitely looking for summertime type items. Sandals, shorts, swimwear, those type of items are going to be selling the best right now, because that's what people are looking for. All right, guys, I just pulled into the post office, so I'm gonna run in here, drop off my packages, and then we'll get back to our sales. Alright guys, we got our packages dropped off at the post office, and now we're going to go ahead and head to UPS and drop off the package that needs to go there. So while we're on our way to UPS, we'll go ahead and go over the remainder of our sales for the first week of July. So the next item that we have are these pair of Levi's men's boots. These we paid about $6.39 for at our local thrift store, which was probably a little high to pay for these in my opinion, but they did end up selling for $23.98. I just feel like $6 was quite a bit, especially at our local thrift store. We have this local thrift store that's like a church run thrift basically, or I'm not even sure if it's church run, but it's that type of mission oriented thrift. It's not like a Goodwill or a Salvation Army. It's not one of the like nationwide retail stores. It's just local to us. And usually their prices there are really good. And usually, typically, we find shoes cheaper than that. I took a chance on these. I wasn't really sure how Levi's shoes would do. So I kind of took a chance on them, because obviously Levi's is a good brand in general. But probably more so sticking with their jeans than shoes. These also took a long time to sell, but that's okay. I mean, they did eventually sell for the almost $24. So obviously we still made a profit, and so that's a good thing. Next, we have this little handheld game. This was Big Screen Solitaire by Radica. Sometimes these little handheld electronic games can do well, especially the solitaire ones. I think a lot of times do the best out of these type of games. So this one I only spent about 37 cents for it. So what happened is last summer I went to a garage sale, and this garage sale had like a little tiny tote of a whole bunch of these electronic handheld games. And they had $4 on the entire tote. So with how many games were in there, I essentially spent about 37 cents on each game. So only about 37 cents into this, and this ended up selling for $20. So obviously that's an amazing profit. It's always nice when you can find deals like that at garage sales or wherever, when you can buy something that either you can buy something in bulk by working out a deal with the person at the sale, or they already have something set up like this where they've got multiple things in one box or tote or whatnot that they only have one price on, because then obviously your cost per item is going to be a lot lower, and it's going to work out a lot better for you. So that was a pretty exciting sale, even though it was only $20. I mean, still $20 from 37 cents is absolutely wonderful. Okay, next we have a video game. This is Wii Sports Resort. Now this was only the disc. It didn't come with like the case or anything. Well, I think it was actually in the regular Wii Sports little cardboard case, not the actual Wii Sports Resort. So it was kind of in the wrong case, so I sold it as just disc only. got it for $5 at a garage sale this year, probably just about 2 or 3 weeks ago probably, and it sold for $24.97. So if you guys ever see Wii Sports Resort, I think Wii Sports itself does well as also. But if you see Wii Sports Resort, even if it's just the disc, you should pick it up. Those do pretty well. I think usually they sell for about $20 to $25. So keep an eye out for that. Not sure why that game sells so well or for so much, but it does, and it sells pretty consistently, so definitely keep an eye out for that. Alright, next we have this Magnavox combo unit. It was a VCR DVD combo unit. Now, I purchased this for $5 at a garage sale this summer, a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, when I brought it home and tested it, the VCR did not work. It was eating tapes. So this is the chance you take if you ever buy something like this. If you buy one of these combo units or even just a VCR by itself, this is the chance you take, is that it will not work properly, that the VCR will eat tapes. So, you know, that's sad when that happens. It's very disappointing, especially when you ask the person at the sale if the item works and they assure you, oh yes, of course it works. Well, you can't necessarily take their word for it. I mean, you can try, but a lot of times it's not the case. So that was the case with this. Unfortunately, I brought it home, tested it. The DVD part seems to work just fine, but unfortunately the VCR part was eating tapes. So I had to sell it for parts only. Luckily, this unit was one that still sold decent for parts only, and even at the parts only took a few weeks to sell. It ended up selling for $34.97. The only part about it, like I said, that's sad is that it probably would have sold for at least double that, if not more, if it had been fully functional. So just let that be a lesson for you guys in case, you know, you've ever thought about selling something like that, that, you know, if you don't have a way to test it at the place you're purchasing it, which obviously a lot of times at garage sales, you know, how are you going to test that? Sometimes at the thrift stores, they might have somewhere where you could plug it in, and a lot of times they also sell VHS tapes. So you could plug it in, you could put a VHS tape that they have in it and test it. I mean, and see if it works. I have done that before at like thrift stores, but it's a little harder at a garage sale to be able to do that. So just make sure, you know, if you are buying these, you probably don't want to pay a lot for them then, because, you know, you don't want to be stuck paying a lot of money for something that then you might not be able to do anything with, depending on the model, or you might only be able to sell for parts, and so it's going to sell for, you know, a lot less than it would have otherwise. All right, next we have this Guitar Hero Van Halen game for the PlayStation 2. So I only have about 73 cents into this game. So another story for you guys. I was at a garage sale this summer, just a couple weeks ago. Walked into this garage sale and was shocked because I have a really hard time finding video game stuff usually, although I've been doing good with video game stuff this year. Not sure why, not sure if I'm just getting lucky this year or what's going on. But typically I've not had a lot of luck finding video game stuff in the past because all the other people get there before me. You know, I don't know if there's a lot of other video game sellers in my area, not sure. But this year I have actually found quite a few video game items. So I've been having more luck this year, which is great. So I walked into this sale and they had a whole bunch of PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games. They had like $1 each on each of the PlayStation 2 games and 75 cents each on each of the PlayStation 1 games. So it added up to, I think it was like 47 or 48 something. There was 55 total games, and I asked them if they would just take $40 for all of it. And she said absolutely. So that was wonderful. Ended up spending then what amounted to about 73 cents per game. And, you know, some of the games in there aren't as good as others, but there were some really good ones in there, like this one. This one sold for $29.97. So, I mean, right there, that was almost $30. Right there, just in that one game, I made over half my money back. So that's really awesome and exciting. There was also some other really good games in there too, especially some other good Guitar Hero games that have yet to sell. But yeah, I mean, they're listed and just waiting for those to sell. Once I probably, and I believe I've sold a few of the other games already from that, just not for, you know, quite as much as this, but I have sold some other ones. I'm pretty sure that I'm already into the profit on this buy. So that was a really awesome find. Another, you know, thing to look out for, you guys, is video games. I'm sure most people probably are aware of that. It's a pretty well-known category to look for. So yeah, be on the lookout for video games, and especially video games like this for like older systems, because it's harder for people to find those games now that those systems are older, but there's still a lot of people that like to play the older systems because they enjoy them. And the last sale that we are going to go over was probably the best sale of the first week of the month. This was a Pokemon Monopoly game. I found this at a garage sale this summer, paid $5 for it, and this one sold for $49.97. So I don't know if you guys know about Pokemon Monopoly. I've sold it probably at least 3 or 4 times now. It's definitely a bolo. It's definitely a good thing to be on the lookout for. Pokemon Monopoly does really well. Obviously, you know, people really like Pokemon. I feel like most people have probably heard, you know, about the Pokemon craze, and a lot of people really like Pokemon. It's a very popular thing. And so the Monopoly version of Pokemon does really well because of the Pokemon people, and also a lot of special edition Monopoly games do well also. So definitely keep your eye out for this. This is definitely a big bolo. Like I said, I've sold this game this is probably at least my 3rd or 4th time finding this game and selling it. And I think I've usually spent about $5 or less on the game each time I've found it. I've always found it at garage sales. And always, you know, you'll have to check when you buy it. You'll have to check and make sure that all of the pieces are there. Fortunately, every time I've found it, it has been 100% complete. Every single piece has been there. So that's wonderful. Even if you find a game though, and you buy it and then you take it home, you count the pieces and they're not all there, a lot of times you can still sell it as not complete. You just won't get as much for it. Or sometimes you can part out the pieces and sell the pieces individually, because sometimes that's a good way to sell them as well. And that goes for a lot of different games. A lot of different board games, you can sell pieces individually. So sometimes just parting out games works. So yeah, those were our sales for the first week of July. And I'm about to go in here to the UPS store now and drop off my order. So I'll see you guys in a minute. All right, guys. So we got that package dropped off at UPS, and now we're going to head to my storage unit so that I can pull the items that have to go out tomorrow. So I'll see you there. All right, guys, as you can see, we made it to my storage unit. Now let's talk about why I have a storage unit. So I rent, and I rent an 800 square foot house. So my house is super, super tiny. There's just no room in my house in any way, shape, or form to store all this inventory that I have. So I have to rent a storage unit so that I have somewhere to keep all of my inventory. I do have certain things that I do keep at my house, especially because, as you can see, my storage unit is outdoors. It's not a climate controlled unit. So obviously there's certain types of items that would not do well being in the heat in the summer and being in the cold in the winter. I live in Ohio, so our summers can get really hot and humid, and our winters can get very, very cold and snowy and gross and disgusting. I absolutely am not a fan of Ohio weather, but I've lived in Ohio my whole life, so it is what it is. However, so there are certain items that I do keep at my house, because certain things need to be in a more climate controlled environment, especially items like the electronics, movies, video games, you know, any kind of like media, and any kind of electronics, especially. I tend to keep a lot of like my breakable type of stuff at home as well, just because I worry about it being in storage, like somehow getting knocked over or falling over or breaking. I don't want any issues like that. Mainly my storage unit has, you know, like my clothing, my shoes, those type of items that it doesn't matter as much about being in climate control. So that's why I personally have a storage unit. It depends on your personal circumstances whether you would have a storage unit or not. You know, some people choose to for whatever reason. That's totally my reasoning, is that I live in a really small house. If I had a house that had the room to store everything, I absolutely would not have a storage unit, for multiple reasons. First of all, it would save, you know, money to not have to pay for a storage unit every month. And also the fact that it's just kind of a pain to have to drive to the storage unit every time you need to go pick up your items. Not that it's far from my house, it's really not. Luckily my storage unit is within, I think, a couple miles from my house, so it's really not that bad of a drive or anything like that. Although in the winter it can be a pain because if the weather's bad and I have to come to my storage unit, I mean, sometimes that is problematic, because I absolutely hate driving in bad weather. And also the fact that the storage unit, they don't take care of their parking lot like at all. So if it snows a ton in the winter, there's practically no way to get into the storage unit, because I've gotten my car stuck before. So yeah, it's not fun when we get bad winter weather here and we have to try and get into the unit. So hopefully eventually I will have a better solution. Maybe one day, you know, I'll be able to move to somewhere that, even if I don't have a huge house, I can at least have a garage to store things in or a shed to store things in. Literally at the house that I rent currently, we don't even have a shed, a garage, anything. So yeah, it's pretty problematic, as far as having somewhere to store inventory. So that's the story behind why I pay for a storage unit. Luckily, my storage unit really doesn't cost as much as I've heard what storage unit costs for other people in other areas. I'm pretty sure my unit is a 10 by 20, and with tax and everything, it's about $90 a month. So I've heard that some people pay a lot more than that. And I'm sure if I had a climate controlled unit, it would be a lot more than that. I think we do have some of those around here. But yeah, I've never even looked into the price of them, because I mean, I do like the price of this place. And I do like that it's pretty close to my house. So yeah, that's my story behind that. So let's go ahead and go into the storage unit and pull some orders. All right, guys, so we got everything that we needed to get from storage. Those items are what will have to go out tomorrow, but I get them as early as possible the day before. That way I can pack them up, print off the labels, get them ready to go, and then the next day, just like today, you know, we go to the USPS, we drop them off first thing, and if I have to go to UPS as well, but that's not typical. I don't have too many items that go by UPS, barely ever FedEx. UPS would happen more often than FedEx, but yeah, I usually don't have very many items at all that I have to go to UPS for, which is good. I mean, first of all, because it's an extra trip, and the UPS store is a little further from me than the post office. The post office is within a couple miles of my house also, just like my storage unit, just in different directions, actually, unfortunately, but they're still both fairly close. The UPS store, I think, is maybe, I don't know if it's 5 miles. It's still not super far. It's just a little bit further and out of the way of everything else. So I wouldn't want to have to go there like every single day. So most days I just have to go to the post office. I have to go to storage. And then, you know, on days I source, obviously, I go to thrift stores and things like that. During the summer, I don't go thrifting as much because I'm more focused on going to garage sales. Our garage sales around here usually start on Thursdays, which is a really strange time, I feel like, for them to start. However, most of our garage sales around here usually start on Thursdays. Some people start on Fridays. Barely anyone starts on Saturday. So, I typically hit up the most garage sales on Thursday. On Fridays, a lot of times I'll hit up ones that don't start until Friday. I typically don't go to any on Saturdays because, like I said, most of them don't start on Saturday. And most of the time, I've found in my experience, if you go to a sale that's already been going on for at least a day or two, you're probably not going to find much of anything, at least not that I'm looking for. So, usually I try to hit up as many as I can on Thursdays. And like I said, then the ones that start on Fridays, I usually hit those on Fridays also. But yeah, my sourcing is much more focused on garage sales during the summer than on going to the thrift stores or the bins. I mean, I may go sometimes. It just depends on the situation. But usually my focus is much more on garage sales for sourcing during the summer months. Because, you know, again, being here in Ohio, our garage sale season is very limited. They typically start in May. You might find a couple close to the end of April. It really just depends on what our weather is doing that year. But typically they start in May at some point, and then we'll have them in May, June, July. July, they already seem to start slowing down. I don't know if it's because now it's getting more hot and humid, and so then people don't want to be out in the heat and humidity. August, we might have some again. It's a lot slower. And there may be some stragglers in like September. But by September, usually, we really don't have that many. So the main time for garage sales in my area is typically in May and June. I'd say those are the two busiest months. Like I said, July still has some, but they seem to start winding down from what they were in May and June. Alright, so now I need to go home and take pictures, do listings, all that fun stuff, the fun parts of being a reseller. I'm sure most of you probably find the most fun part sourcing, and so do I. Taking pictures is, it's okay sometimes. Doing the listings is pretty monotonous and boring. Those definitely are my least favorite parts, and I feel like most resellers' least favorite parts, but hey, that's part of what you got to do to make the money. So it's all right. That's what we've got to spend the day doing. So I'm probably just going to go ahead and end it here for today so that I can get my work done. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to do something a little bit different by showing you some of the things that I do to get my day started. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. Likes help my videos a lot. Leave any comments you have in the description below, whether you have any questions, if you have any suggestions for other videos you might like to see. Hopefully telling you, what we sold for the first week of July helped a little bit too, to give you ideas of what kind of items are selling for us right now and what kind of items to be on the lookout for, and perhaps even where to source those items. I guess that's it for today. So make sure you subscribe to my channel if you like this content. And until next time, keep on hunting for that hidden treasure.